Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to I only smelled these things after moving to America. I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what differences in smell there's going to be. I mean, fuel, maybe because more people drive, I am not sure. But we're going to just check this out, hopefully going to enjoy. It might be to do with like, I guess, the nature side. He's sitting in some trees and I guess you get some different kinds of smells depending on like the flowers and the trees and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm not too sure to be fair, so we're going to jump into this, hopefully going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon if you want to see some more of my reactions, but let's check this out and see some of the things that he smell after moving to the US.
You know, they say that America is a feast for the senses. Who says that? I just did. And because it is, I thought it'd be interesting on the back of looking at sounds last week to talk about some of the ways in which America smells. Not necessarily bad, some of it's good. So come with me on a quick walk while I smell you about them, tell you about them. I'm not sure I really acknowledged this one until I went back home in 2019 after not having been home in about 11 years. Because one of the first things that I noticed when I stepped off that plane and headed into Heathrow Airport, aside from the fact that my ears were about to explode, was that there was a disinfectant in use that I'd not smelled in those 11 years. And since I was a bit of a lazy kid when I lived in Britain, I couldn't even tell you what that disinfectant was. I just know it was quite different. And weirdly enough, when I visited Paris this year, I smelled that same smell. And it just got me thinking, maybe there's a European-America divide on how we clean stuff. It is a bit of a mystery though, because I looked this up and it looks like both countries use Lysol and Clorox. So I can only think that it's the fragrance that's added. Now, I'm no expert on cleaning products. Clearly, I sleep under trees. So if you've spent a fair amount of time in both countries, let me know in the comments below what you think that difference is, because I can't work it out.
To be fair, I can't even say. I don't even know what the smell of US airports even is like, so.
I think...
Wait, what does this say? Abercrombie Fitch. What the hell is that?
I think it was the philosopher Gandalf the Grey who said, if in doubt, always follow your nose. But clearly, Gandalf had never stood outside of Abercrombie and Fitch after lunch. Now, I should preface this entry by saying that Abercrombie and Fitch has cropped up in the UK since I left, meaning that we swapped one overwhelming force of nature for another. But it was definitely in America where I first experienced that distinctive smell. For those of you who don't habitually hang around shopping malls, Abercrombie and Fitch is a trendy clothing outlet with a really pungent smell. How can I describe it? It's horrible and is very much akin to the boys' locker room from when I was 14 years old. I don't mean that it smells of sweaty lads, I mean that it smells like their deodorant, so, you know, Lynx Africa or whatever the equivalent here is, Axe deodorant. I don't...
Wait, I've heard of Axe before. Is Axe just the same as Lynx? Do you have Lynx in the US, or is it literally just a rebrand of this brand? Because there's a few... I might do a video on that. I don't know what else, because you've got the crisp one, you've got Lay's in the US, you've got Walkers here. I feel like there are a few where you do have... They look exactly the same. It's just a different name. Because I've seen memes to do with Axe. Like, it's just like, I don't know, people joke about it and stuff. And it's kind of the same with Lynx as well. Like, it's the cheap deodorant that you use when you're younger. And I guess maybe some people use it when they're older as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. But I never knew what Axe looked like, and now seeing this comparison, it looks exactly the same.
I don't know if that's what it is, but that's what it smells like. And honestly, I'm not kidding when I say this. If I enter a shopping mall, which I only ever do if I've been blackmailed, and that smell is in the air, it's enough for me to leave whoever I'm with and walk home, even if it's across a motorway. It's so bad that I've never been inside an Abercrombie and Fitch. And all told, I'm not sure I ever will.
Cinnamon, oh, I love
Look, this
cinnamon.
isn't a sentence I ever thought.
Cinnamon is one of the best flavours, like cinnamon buns, but just cinnamon in general is such a good flavour. And some people don't like it, and I don't understand.
I'd say, but long-time fans of this channel will know that my nostrils are very attuned to the smell of cinnamon. And so for those of you who are new to my channel, you will hear me reference this from time to time. And in my experience, Americans are less attuned to it, and there's a very good reason for that, and that's that the smell of cinnamon is everywhere. I mean, I don't smell it right now, mercifully, but they put it on just about everything. So if you're in the mood for dessert, the chances are you will get a waft of cinnamon at some point. Now, for me, growing up in Britain, cinnamon existed, right? It was a spice that we have. We don't put it all over everything all the time in massive quantities, which seems to be a favorite pastime of Americans. And I think the first time that I noticed this, again, was in a mall. Presumably I was still recovering from the nasally raucous onslaught of a certain clothing store, but this other shop came into view, or whatever the smell equivalent is of the word view. And that shop was called Auntie Anne's, which, aside from selling pretzel stuff...
We have Auntie Anne's here. Wait, is... They sell... Wait, Auntie... So it's an American thing. There's one in... Oh, damn. This is an American... Is this like a big pretzel place in the US? I've never actually been there before, but I've seen it. I always see it because this is like the gym that I go to. The gym that I go to is near this mall. It's in this mall, and there's another one in the other mall as well. We have two. Yeah, we have two in both of our malls in the city that I'm from. But is this like is Auntie Anne's? I know this doesn't even matter to the video. I just like seeing this sort of stuff. Is Auntie Anne's big in the US? I'm not sure. I know it started there from what I just saw, but is it big there?
Had a strong odour of cinnamon. And it got me thinking, ooh, you know, Abercrombie and Fitch, Auntie Anne's, both A names. You're the type of company who feels you have to be at the start of the alphabet. You're probably also the sort of company that has to overcompensate with your smell. So, you know, Apple smells like metal. It's not really. Audi, same as Apple. So there's a little bit of a flaw in my theory. But in America, cinnamon is everywhere, especially at this time of year because, you know, people are rolling out the apples and the pumpkins and all manner of other things that they feel isn't already tasty enough, so they have to put heaps and heaps of cinnamon into it. And that basically becomes America's de facto smell through to the new year. And my wife loves it.
It could be worse smells, man. Again, like, cinnamon for me is goated for sure. It's one of the best additions you can add to most foods.
My wife's family loves it. All Americans love it, and that's fine by me, but you know what? I'm a plain guy, right? I'm the sort of person who will even eat pasta without adding anything to it. Not suggesting that you'd only add cinnamon, I'm just saying I don't feel the need to add stuff to stuff.
I'm kind of the same, to be honest. I'm very basic too, but cinnamon, you can't go wrong.
For it to be good. I'll eat a loaf of bread just on its own. Not a loaf, a slice.
Barbecue food.
As the year goes on, this one is becoming less and less of a thing. But when I lived in Britain, we did have barbecues. It's just that they're not the same as they are in the United States.
From what I've seen in previous videos, yeah, not the same at all. British barbecues, you just get burgers. Basically, you have burgers or hot dogs with sauce. Like you have, that's literally it. And maybe your kebab stuff sometimes, like chicken wings and stuff. But there's not really much to it, and it is mainly just hot dogs. I was going to say sausage rolls, hot dogs and burgers, and that is a barbecue in the UK, to be honest.
So for us, a barbecue is basically a catch-all term for what Americans would refer to as a cookout. But in America, barbecue can mean many different things depending on the region. But here in the Midwest, it has a very distinctive smell, right? And that smell is the smell of meat having been smoked, presumably covered in barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce is not such a big thing back in Britain. So the smell, especially if you're riding your bicycle on an empty stomach like I did yesterday, is amazing to the point that I go high-pitched. In fact, I almost think that the smell is better than the taste for the very reason that I am a plain man. And barbecue food, and especially barbecue sauce, is a very American thing.
Skunk. Is that an actual predominant smell that you actually smell a lot? I know skunks are in the US, but do you smell them ever?
This one brings back some incredible memories because I remember during the first year of me living in the United States, there was this one time that my wife and I and a couple of her family members were in a car together. We're driving along, and then all of a sudden I can smell this horrendous odour, and everyone's really quiet, and I'm sitting there thinking, Tara, did your uncle just... That's awful. But I was new to the family, so I couldn't really say anything, so I just sort of let it go. But you couldn't let it go because the smell was in the air for like a minute, and it was worse than any body odour of a human anyway that I'd ever encountered. But then, mercifully, the signal came. The signal that always comes now in these circumstances. Somebody always has to point out, ugh, skunk. Right, that's what they always say, ugh, skunk. And we don't have skunks in England because they're mostly found in the Americas. And
that's so weird how they're in the Americas, but they're also here. How the hell do they end up here when they originate from here?
found
Weird.
in the Americas. And British viewers might be thinking, ooh, Lawrence, what makes skunks smell so bad? Well, according to Wikipedia, this is unreal, they are known for their ability to spray a liquid with a strong and pleasant scent from their anal glands. So that's how they smell bad, but the question is, for an animal with a really good sense of smell, is why? And it turns out it's a defense mechanism. They do it to ward off potential predators as a kind of last-minute desperate act of defense. And again, I've got to say, imagine if humans did this. I mean, some of us do when my wife's cousin Chad is in the vicinity, but, you know, apart from that, we have a sense of decorum. I was reading as well that some people have skunks as pets, which I suppose is fantastic if you have no sense of smell and you're an introvert. So I'm halfway there. Thankfully, I have a cat.
Why would you have a pet skunk? That is the worst thing I can imagine. Imagine your pet skunk just feels threatened and it just... Oh my god. And I'm assuming that smell will just stay and linger for probably... I'm going to say hours, but maybe not hours. That's probably not the case. But if it's like doing it in your house and it just gets absorbed by your pillows and stuff, who's to say that it's not going to linger for longer than that? I don't know. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. I'm a plain guy. I'm the sort of person who'll eat even pasta without adding anything to it. This right here is the most top 3 most British things I've ever heard. Yeah, I mean, I used to eat plain pasta, but my girlfriend sort of changed that a bit. And to be honest, I couldn't eat it now. Plain pasta, it's like, nah. The fact that I'm even having to say that is an example, though. To be fair, I've lived in Europe for 23 years. What struck me last year when I returned to Paris from the US was the stench of cigarette smoke and urine outside the airport. I realised during my trip back to the Midwest, I hadn't smelt those things. You forgot cut grass. I hate the smell of cut grass. It's the worst. It triggers my hay fever. I hate the smell of it so much. Or cut plants, I hate it. Or the smell, like it's raining now. The smell of like rain. There's like an earthy smell to it. For me, it makes me feel ill. I don't know why. It makes me feel like, I don't know. I don't know if it triggers my hay fever or it just makes me feel a bit like, oh, here we go again. Maybe it doesn't make me feel ill. I'm just not a fan of the smell. But I feel like those smells are universal, right? Anyway, where was it? You forgot cut grass. I live in Asia now, but when I visit my family in the US, I'm filled with the nostalgia over the smell of lawns being mowed in the summer. Also, the reason skunk smell is rather common is not that they are defending themselves, it's that one of them has been hit by a car, and releasing its whole sack full of stench. Oh my days. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction, and yeah, that's that. Until next time, like, subscribe.